Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of The Owner's Box After Dark. I am your host, Mark Farinella, the former assistant sports editor, Patriots beat writer, sports columnist, and the guy who used to go up onto the roof to clean off the satellite dish back when they needed one to contact the Associated Press and get most of the news that was in the paper. Anyway, that paper down in Attleboro. Second year of retirement, I keep telling you. Yeah, it is December 11th, Friday, in the year 2020 of our Lord, who I think has forsaken us all in this year. But hey, you know, it's almost over. We can move on to hopefully bigger and better things once we just get the stigma of this year out of the way. I have a special show for you tonight. Unfortunately, not video, but we're working on it. But we do have a guest. I know you guys are saying, I had enough of you. Can we get some other people on the podcast? Well, I've done that tonight. My dear friend and a really good basketball coach, Missy Traversi, the head women's basketball coach at Adelphi University, and of course the former Bishop Feehan High School and University of Maine standout. She has joined me via telephone. We have some new technology that's allowed me to do it. Yeah, new technology, which I bought about a year ago and finally decided to figure out how to do it. Yes, she was in her office in Garden City, New York, on the beautiful campus of Adelphi University. And we got together and talked about what it's like to be trying to put together a basketball team when you don't really know if they're going to play. I mean, all indications are that there will be a basketball season for members of the Northeast 10 Conference. But we all remember, back in March, Missy's team, the Adelphi Panthers, had finished 27-3 in their regular season and conference tournament. And they were about to enter into the NCAA Division II tournament, and they were going to be the host team. So they were going to play Jefferson University of Philadelphia in the first round. I guess it's the quarterfinal round of the East region. And just as they were getting ready to play it, the NCAA pulled the plug because, as we all know, in that second week of March, COVID numbers went crazy. They just went right through the roof, or at least what we thought was the roof back in those days. As we've learned, it has been, the roof keeps getting higher and higher. So Missy's team lost an opportunity to bid for a national championship. They come back this year a little bit, maybe a little bit less talented because they lost some very good players, but they have some great senior leadership and have gotten a new class to come in and also a transfer that folks in the Attleboro area will know. And we talk about that. We talk about just the fears and the effort and how it affected recruiting, all of those things that really make it difficult to be a head basketball coach in the midst of a pandemic. So we will get to that interview very shortly. First, though, the usual notes. Tonight's drink of choice is another coffee drink. You know, this is like my third coffee, actually fourth. I made a pot this morning. I had to get up early to do the interview with Missy, so I drank a pot of coffee then. And so this is number 4 today of coffee. Mm-hmm. Keeps that buzz going. This one's particularly good. It is another Starbucks Nitro brew, cold brew, but it's their vanilla sweet cream flavor. And I like it. I don't drink it all that often because it's a little bit on the sweet side, and I got to be careful about my blood sugar, but I add a little bit more Splenda too because I do have a sweet tooth, but it's good. No, I don't get compensated for these endorsements, but I just want you to try this stuff if you like coffee. Of course, the mood candle for our Christmas season podcasts is the Yankee Candle Evergreen Mist. Makes the place smell like a forest. I love it. And if I have a deer walking through the door at some point, it's because they feel like they'll be at home. So, without much more ado, and of course later in the podcast we will delve into the highs and lows of this New England Patriots season, and we are on a major low this week following their 24-3 loss to the Los Angeles Rams on Thursday Night Football. The good thing is we don't have to worry about a game this weekend because they'll be off until a week from Sunday. So let us get into a great little conversation. And even though it's not video, I will put some nice photographs up so that you can enjoy kind of the feel of it and all that. And I always enjoy talking to Missy. I mean, of all the people I've known in this game over the many years that I've covered it, I find her among the most charismatic and certainly accomplished and personally driven. She leaves no stone unturned. So I hope you'll enjoy the conversation, and that will begin right now. My guest today is entering her 5th season as head coach of the women's basketball team at Adelphi University, which I think officially makes her a veteran coach by now. And of course, she's a familiar face in New England basketball circles because of her playing career at Bishop Fee High School and the University of Maine, and her coaching history, which includes head coaching stops at Brookline High, Dover Sherborne High, Attleboro High, and Wheelock College. Missy Traversi, welcome to your 3rd visit to my podcasting airwaves.
What's up, buddy?
You know, same old, same old. Another week trapped inside my house with with the 4 walls to look at. But you seem to be a little bit more active these days.
Yeah, we're practicing. We're in full practice mode and trying to get out of the house when I can for my own mental health. And yeah, we're moving and grooving here.
Well, that's good to hear. You know, when we last spoke on April 6th, we discussed the sudden end of last season, so I don't really have to get into that in depth. But your Panthers were about to begin play in the NCAA Division II tournament, and were entering as the top seed in the East region with a 27-3 record. And you were about to play host to Jefferson University of Philadelphia in Garden City, and that was when the NCAA announced the cancellation of all of its postseason tournaments. Now here we are almost 42 weeks later, and you're starting to prepare a new team, but there's a lot of uncertainty about this new season that may yet still be threatened by the same virus that sent us all to bunkers back in March. How different has this offseason been from your previous ones at Adelphi?
Oh, yes, it's very different. This is hands down the most challenging year that I've had professionally, just in terms of, what's expected with protocol and making sure that the athlete's well-being is always prioritized above anything else. And also just keeping the group motivated without games. That's extremely challenging. So there's been a lot of time, maybe too much time to think and overthink. And we have a team that just wants to compete and wants to play against somebody else. And we're just trying to drive the ship forward every single day. But it's absolutely a different environment. We haven't played in a very long time. But we are fortunate that we even get to practice right now. So we're trying to get small wins every day with everything we do, and we're trying to keep gratitude at the forefront of our minds. And hopefully, God willing, we have a chance to play. We should get some news next week, and then we'll go from there. But all we have is a day in front of us, and that's what we're tackling.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you spent much of your off season in Attleboro with your folks. Am I correct?
I did, a long time. Yeah, it was. Talk about a huge blessing. I went hiking, reconnected with some friends. My parents, we had dinner pretty much every night together. It was time well needed, and I'm glad I had it.
In fact, if I'm not mistaken, also, that's where we conducted our last interview. You were at home, and I was here, and we did it virtually, as they say, as made it a little bit easier these days. I can make it so that people can just call in, so that's probably nice. But I do want to get a lot of these interviews on the video as well. But I figured just for the sake of this one, we'll get you started, get you going real fast here. Um, I noticed that in that period of time that you were here, though, you were still able to conduct your recruiting. I noticed the recent announcement of your 4 incoming recruits for next year. So you got the job done, but how did you do it?
Well, a lot of those relationships were formed prior to COVID, and much of that work was done in the off season with tournaments. So we were pretty confident in our selection. There's still 1 or 2 spots we're going to be looking to fill in the post position, but we're not there yet. We're probably going to be looking to either go the transfer route or possibly junior college. So it's not a finalized class just yet, but I'm happy with what we've been able to put together, considering all these challenges.
Now, that takes care of next season, per se, but then obviously as a head coach, you have to look beyond that. Has the situation that we've been in, all these COVID restrictions, has that put you at a disadvantage for beyond this next class?
Yeah, I think everyone is probably a little bit behind, but so are the players. I mean, I feel horrible for these sophomore and juniors that aren't going to be able to be seen. And we're doing everything through our internet, whether that's live feed or film that's broken down and then sent to us. There's not a lot of gatherings that can happen right now on campus. So we're not even able to bring kids on campus, and it's presenting a lot of challenges. And nowadays, you really want to get to know the athlete, and you can't see them half the time. Zoom is not the same as face-to-face interaction, and you can't really get a complete feel for their ability to handle adversity or kind of what their likes and dislikes are, or even their character. That's something that we prioritize here, finding high-character student-athletes. I think we've done well on the whole, but that's something that you have to build over time, and typically there's a lot of in-person interaction when that happens, and we haven't had that luxury, unfortunately.
So here you are, back in the gym with your current team, which does have some significant personnel changes from last year's team, but it's a very different start to your season. I mean, last year at this time, your team had already played 10 games. Today, as I'm talking to you, the Adelphi website doesn't even have a schedule posted for your team. How disruptive is that in the planning for the immediate future?
Yeah, mentally it's more of a drain, I think, than anything, on all of us, on the players and the coaches. But I have an incredible administration that's working hard to try to get everything moving and trying to get us a schedule. But, there's a lot that's out of his hands as well. So we're just in a holding pattern. That's what we're in right now, and mentally it's a lot. It's very taxing. But we try, like I said, every day we try to look at what we do have and the good stuff, and even just being together and building each day. That's definitely not something that's given. So we're fortunate in that regard.
What is the holdup on the schedule? I thought I had seen one earlier, several weeks ago. I thought I'd seen something that started up in January or after the new year, and but that right now, if you go to the website, obviously you just see the results from last year. Is there a particular thing that's holding it up? Is it conference related? Is it school related? State restriction related? What do you think it is?
Yeah, I think it's all of the above. I do. I think that there's higher ups that need to be able to assess everything. So student athletes' well-being is taken care of, the coaches are taken care of, and we're doing it the right way and the safe way. So I think that's why there's been a hold-up, and it's something they don't want to rush through. But I think the ADs are involved, the presidents are involved, and then the statewide mandates and those rulings that all need to be taken into consideration. And until they come to some type of yes or no, we're just waiting. We're just waiting.
I would assume, though, that you have to be fairly confident that it will be a go. I mean, otherwise, I don't think you'd be able to start practice, to be honest.
Yeah, one would think, right? But Mark, I'm not surprised by anything anymore.
Oh, I know. After this past year, exactly.
Based on what we went through, and being less than 24 hours away from that Jefferson game, and then having it all shut down, to now being less than a month away, really, from playing, there's a good chance that it might shut down. And I want to stay positive, and I want to be hopeful, but you just don't know. You just have to, like I said, one day at a time, one practice at a time, and try not to look too far ahead. But that's hard to do. especially for someone like myself who's a planner, and we very much want to make sure our student athletes are ready for what's to come. And I got to credit them. I don't do it enough, and I'm really proud of the way that they have come together during these difficult times, and they haven't made excuses. They continually show up, and they work. Granted, motivation sometimes is an issue, but other than that, I mean, this crew, they mean business, and it's encouraging to be around their competitive spirit right now. Like, that's what gets me out of bed every day, is knowing that I have a group of young women that are staying ready and want to play. And I just think it's a really inspiring feeling right now with everything going on.
You and I share that planner aspect, except I do it from a different perspective, of course. Recently, a few decisions have been made around here. Most of our local leagues will end up having 10-game regular seasons and maybe conference tournaments after that, just to add another couple of games to the schedule. But boy, I tell you, going from seeing 26 or 27 games to maybe 12 if I'm lucky, that's kind of disappointing and disheartening. But it's the only thing you can really do at a time like this, is just try to get the kids out there on the court and hope it doesn't get interrupted. And in my case, I have to plan for my broadcasting, and we've gotten some encouraging news lately about things we can do. And I know the folks at North TV are planning, the folks at Mansfield Cable Access are planning to do certain things. And I'm willing to do anything as long as I keep testing negative for COVID. I'm very happy, so I'll be out there, mask in hand. But yeah, it's difficult to really, if you're an organized person and really want to, have control over your whole schedule. This has got to give you a feeling of not being in control, and I know how frustrating that must be for you. Yeah, no, and if you don't mind me asking, Sheila actually referenced some of these high school rules. I'm just curious, what are some of the rulings? What have they decided on? I heard they're going to play with masks and they can only play zone or something like that. Yeah,
the free throw?
No, the zone part is that was thrown out the window. The current restrictions, as it appears, are really not that bad. So nowhere near as bad as what was enforced for the fall sports. Field hockey and soccer were changed radically, and I actually did some broadcasting for North TV, doing some of each. And it's funny because I'm not exactly up on the rules of field hockey and soccer. I mean, I've watched them in the past, but field hockey, they took 8 players off the field. They reduced it from 11 on 11 to 7 on 7, which made it actually a better game. But then soccer became like field hockey with all of the whistles. Basketball, however, yes, all the players will have to wear masks. They've eliminated inbounds plays from under the basket. Everything that goes out of bounds is going to be taken out on the sidelines, and the defending player has to be 6 feet off the line. Free throws, there will only be 4 people allowed on the edges of the lane, and what they will do with that too is if you're in a 2-shot or 3-shot situation, everybody will be off the lines until the rebounding shot. So other than that, though, just a few minor things about close contact. The schedules are pretty much set right now. I mean, I know the Hockomock League is planning on a 10-game season. I'm really kind of happy that King Philip decided to go with boys-girls double headers on Sundays, and that will allow us at North TV to do more King Philip games, and it doesn't interrupt my other schedule. Of course, it's all about me, Missy.
You're funny.
But I think that the game will be recognizable. But just the sad part, of course, there is no state tournament. And it will be radically shortened. And I feel for some of the kids that I know that were perhaps had the potential to go for state championships. I know the Mansfield boys were loaded this year, and unfortunately they won't have a chance to prove that. There are some kids that were perhaps with a full 20 to 25 game season could reach the 1,000-point lists. That won't happen. But I know from talking to coaches and to some of the players that they just want to get out there. They want to have the opportunity. And in just yesterday, in fact, Thursday, the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, I'll never get that right, the EEA, they're the ones who've been leading the charge on all of these COVID restrictions. They did finally give the blessings to a winter season, but there will be severely restricted attendance at the games as well, too. I think in the Hockomock, I know that they're planning for only home fans, and they will only be allowed for each player on the team, 2 adults and maybe 1 sibling, and that'll be it. No visiting team, and I think the total attendance can't be more than 40% of the gym's capacity, which means that I got to get there early, or else they might not let the broadcaster in. So that's what they're facing. Does that, again, too, I mean, in season, I know coaches, college coaches try to get to some games here and there as much as they can, given their busy schedules. Does that impact maybe your plans because there will be so many fewer games?
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, we're not going to be allowed in these gyms, so everything's going to be done with the camera and emailing it over to us. That's the best we can really do at this point. There's really no other option.
Now, with a reduced... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm hoping we can get that vaccine sooner rather than later, and then we can start getting back to living normally again. Well,
the last I heard on that is that the first batches will be given to first responders and healthcare professionals and and people at the highest possible risk. I guess I'm in the group 2, old guys with pre-existing conditions over 65. I can be in group 2, and then in group 3 is everybody else. And I guess the groups are around. I think they said that group 2 may be between February and April. So whatever. Yeah, I don't have any problem with trying it, even if I have to grow a third arm out of my forehead from the side effects. I don't care. I want this over and done with.
I'm with you.
Now with that reduced schedule coming up for you, and I'm assuming it will be, obviously by this time it will be significantly reduced, and the ongoing threat that it could be interrupted at any time, and with again the plans for a postseason still up in the air, I can imagine this is particularly disheartening for your seniors, particularly 2 local players that have been with you for 3/4 of your time at Adelphi, Bishop Fian's Emily Michelli and Attleboro's Julia Strachan. Now, they've been a big part of your 83 and 37 career record entering this season, and I'm sure they were ready to assume the responsibilities of being the true senior leaders entering this year. How are they holding up?
They're doing well. They're just terrific, and I am really fortunate to have them here at AU, and we've done some pretty incredible things together, and I really hope it's not over yet. I think that there's more work that needs to be done. But yeah, I mean they're plugging along. They're leading every day by example. I think I'm really lucky to have 2 of those players. Also Sarah Dio from the area that kind of know me and understand what's expected. There's really no learning curve with them. Yeah, and that's half the battle, getting kids to buy in. Yeah, and we've had their buy-in.
You mentioned something that I was about to go to immediately after this. Yes, you have been reunited with a player that you coached in AAU ball and at Attleboro High School several years ago with the transfer of Sarah Dio, the 5'11" forward from Southern New Hampshire University. Now, I remember a long time ago, you and I sitting at the baseline of one of the courts at Mass Premier Courts in Foxborough, watching a tall and gangly and a little bit unpolished incoming freshman in a summer league game, and we both came upon the realization that she had natural skills that just needed time to develop. Well, she ended up being Attleboro High School's leading all-time scorer, and now you get to finish the job with her. How do you feel about that?
Dream come true. She's with everything going on, and we've had our struggles here. Sometimes you feel like you can't get out of the way of bad stuff, and she's my constant go-to. I look at her and I just smile. I'm reminded of all that is right in this world and all that is right with college athletics. She is a blue-collar, hard-working kid and constantly giving. She's a great teammate, and what I'm most looking forward to is is seeing her finish her career off with me, but also at a level that I know she can thrive in and she can dominate. And she's already showing that in practice. She's already come in the low post and has really owned the paint and has motivated the rest of the post players. She's been a big addition this year, and I can't wait to see her. The ball gets rolled out and see her perform, and doing it with a big smile on her face, and she's doing it around people that really care about her and really want her to do well. So I think the sky's the limit for Sarah Dio, and I say it a lot, but I believe it with certain people. I don't think she's played her best basketball. I don't. I think that she's kind of been held back, and now's an opportunity for her to just take the handcuffs off and play her game, play free, play fun, and win some games.
She is a very interesting transfer story. I mean, she finished her bachelor's degree requirements in 3 years at Southern New Hampshire. She graduated summa cum laude with a degree in business administration, and of course that makes her now a graduate student with eligibility at Adelphi. She came off the bench for most of her career at Southern New Hampshire, but I got to see her have her best day, career high 11 at Adelphi in a double overtime victory by your Panthers. So you feel like that I was thinking that since you have really a few gaps from last year's team in post play, is it really possible for her to step up and take on that larger role? And that would not only help her, but it certainly will help you, because that's, I think, where you have a slight weakness coming into this season.
Yeah, without a doubt. We graduated Leonie Edringer. She was a 2-year transfer here for us, and she was a first-team All-Conference. Very
good player.
All-region and a All-American nominee. So, I mean, Leonie was a very experienced player. She had probably more game experience than Sarah. But Sarah brings a different style of play. Sarah's really able to stretch the floor for us. She's got a beautiful release. Can shoot that point shot, as well as crush the rebounds for putbacks, and she can play back to the basket. So she's got really that triple threat as a post player, where she can do all three really well. My biggest concern with Sarah is just her staying healthy physically. We just want to make sure that she's taking care of her body, and in which she is. She's rehabbing, but constantly just checking in on her and making sure, her knees are good, joints are good, and as you get older, it's a lot of pounding in your body. No, it's true.
Believe me, I know, and I wasn't even an athlete.
You know, but as a freshman, you come in, you play college athletics, it kind of hits you like a ton of bricks. You think you've worked hard up until that point, and then you realize, oh my goodness, I have such a long way to go, and I've got to improve at the weight room, I've got to improve my speed, I've got to get a better shot, so there's all these factors, and over the course of 4 years, you really do a number on your body, and that's part of it. It's all part of the journey, and I think Sarah's felt some of that.
That is so true. Missy, that's so true, because, I mean, for many kids, it's a longer court. There's more games. Everybody's a player at that level, so the challenge is more physical. You're right. Everybody takes a pounding over those next 4 years that they play, and so fortunately, kids in their 20s can heal a little faster if they take care of themselves.
Yeah, and I think it's about being proactive. I think it's about making sure you're going in to see the trainer and really eating healthy and sleeping right, and that's something that we talk about with all of our student athletes. And I think when we do that, we're going to set ourselves up for success for hopefully a season.
Well, we're kind of close to the end of this little interview. I'm doing the mini interviews on the telephone, but before we leave, I do have a question that you may not be willing to answer, but it's up to you. We talked before about maybe what the future may hold. I mean, you've had 2 27-win seasons at Adelphi. You certainly have established yourself in Garden City and environs as a dynamic force for good and for good basketball at Adelphi. But at some point, I got to believe that people are going to come calling, and I imagine you have to put that definitely as far back in your head as you have to. But does the thought come up much these days?
Nowadays, I would say this, and you always make me answer a tough question at the end, Mark. You're real.
Funny, you just cut out a little bit. I don't know what you called me, but it's okay.
Oh no, I said you're a stickler. You always ask me a tough question at the end.
All right.
I don't know. This pandemic has taught me that you really can't look too far ahead, and you have to really appreciate what you have, and not look at what you don't have. And that's kind of the approach I'm taking. Obviously, there's good days and bad days, but these women that I have here, they're helping me every day, helping me get stronger mentally and physically, and I hope I'm doing the same for them. And that's really the focus right now. But again, I don't. Of course, I aspire to be the best I can in my profession, and of course, I want to reach the pinnacle, whatever that looks like. But there's so many unknowns, and I just want to make sure that I'm taking care of myself, both on and off the court. Having balance and taking care of myself physically, and those are big priorities right now. And I think one day when that's all where I want it to be, the stars will align, and I'll be where I'm supposed to be. And right now, I'm firmly planted where I'm supposed to be. If that helps the question at all.
It does. And as long as I've known you, you've been a very single-minded and focused individual. And you know that regardless of what may be swirling around the periphery, your focus has always been on the job that you have to do at that moment. And Adelphi has definitely benefited from that, and I suspect they will continue to benefit from that.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of distractions. I think no matter what, even though we're, the pandemic aside, I do think there's a lot of distractions, and it's easy to kind of get caught up in that. And I try my best. I can't say I always succeed, but I really do just try to focus on, what's within my control versus what's out of my control. And there's a lot that's out of my control.
Well, look at it this way, though. At least we are all learning about how to deal with distractions during this period of, I guess, the last 40 some odd weeks that we've had our worlds turned upside down.
It's been 40 weeks, Mark?
I think 41, I think. I put it on my calendar. I'd have to look at my calendar in the other room, but it's definitely clicked into the 40s now. Here we are. We're in December. This is like, I say at one point, how quickly this year has gone by, but then again, it has gone by at times, like it feels like it's lasted forever and it can't leave soon enough. And I just hope that 2021 feels a little bit brighter for all of us. And especially for the Panthers of Adelphi University.
That's right.
Quickly, I just want to note to our video watchers right now, because I am recording this both, for appearing for the third time on my podcast, Missy Traversi will be receiving one of these lovely The Owner's Box After Dark hats that I had made up. They're gorgeous. They are for winter use. They're wool. They have the logo right in front of you, so you'll help me sell this podcast to all sorts of people along the way. And I just want to thank you for being on as many times as you have been. I just wanted to give you a little happy little Christmas gift to go along with it.
Well, thank you. I'm actually going to be coming back to Massachusetts probably as early as December 20th, 21st. Yeah, I wish I could say I'd see you, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Whatever the case may be, I'll wear a mask.
All right. Well, Missy, I hope the knee feels better, and I'm wishing you happy holidays, Mark.
Thank you. You too. Missy Traversi, the head women's basketball coach at Adelphi University. Thanks again for appearing on The Owner's Box.
Got it.
And welcome back to The Owner's Box After Dark. Episode 31, which I neglected to tell you earlier in the podcast, and that was my conversation with Missy Traversi, of course, the head women's basketball coach at Adelphi University in Garden City, New York. Always enjoy talking to her, and you can tell somebody gets excited about the season to come, and that's a feeling I share because we have hopefully we'll have a basketball season around here in the local high schools, and I know I'm getting excited about it, but we all have that cloud hanging over our head over whether or not COVID-19 will continue to break our hearts about it. So, but we will be back with the second half of this podcast and a look at the Patriots. Well, hope you enjoyed those 20 years of success. We'll be back with that after another one of our enjoyable commercials from the land of the rising sun. Enjoy.
Hurry up! Help me! Claudia! Extreme toss! Happy end.
I can't figure out what they're selling. I mean, you can see it on the screen at some point, but they're just so manic. They're so crazy. And you think you hate commercials over here? Can you imagine if you get fed a steady diet of that stuff? Amazing. That's all I can say. It's amazing. I've been searching for many, many more of them, and so many of them have American celebrities that show up in them. I will find them, I promise, and we'll throw a few of them up there, and you'll get a chuckle out of them. Anyway, I'm Mark Farinella, and welcome back to my beloved video podcast, The Owner's Box, After Dark. And by the way, you probably noticed in the interview with Missy Traversi that I wasn't lit that well. But, yeah, and if there was anything in this, I'd say I was lit, but I'm not lit. No, but if you might notice that the lighting was a little different, well, it's because I recorded that at 10 o'clock in the morning, which is something I don't normally do here on the Owner's Box after dark. Dark by definition. And I have all sorts of lighting in here for general use when the surroundings are dark. I've got a halo light in front of me. See the reflection? Okay, that's why I keep my head down most of the time. And I have another little light over here, and the one in the back to fill in some of the fill-ins. Whatever. This is all amateur night, but I'm trying to do the best that I can. But yeah, I noticed as I was recording it that I was a little bit dark, and of course I had the backlighting here. The stolen banner from one of the Super Bowl press rooms. I can't remember which one. Oh, this was the one in Indianapolis. The first time the Patriots lost to the Giants, they had banners in there. Who wants it more? Well, I ripped that one down and brought it home with me whenever was no longer any need to have it. It was the day after the Super Bowl, and all those souvenirs I bought for people who no longer wanted them because the Patriots didn't win. So, but yeah, I apologize. Instead of the Owner's Box After Dark, it is more like the Owner's Box in the dark. But what did you pay to see this, right? It's not like you face some sort of financial hardship because you paid for something and it didn't come out as well as it normally did. So don't complain. And speaking of complaining, let us move on to our New England Patriots. Well, the good news is that last week the Patriots prevailed over the city of Los Angeles by a 48-24 score. Of course, it helps when you beat one of the two LA teams 45-0, which they did against the Chargers. And how bad a team are the Chargers now in retrospect, huh? But can't say much about this other game. I think a lot of people expected the Patriots to lose to the Rams. The Rams are, younger and, learning from their previous defeat to the Tom Brady-led Patriots in a couple of Super Bowls ago. But 24-3, Patriots losing to the Rams, and it started out badly and it never got much better. I just feel like that was a huge disappointment. I expected a downturn following up a big win on a Sunday, staying out on the West Coast for the whole week, and then having to play on Thursday is not a recipe for another big win. Now, in years past, maybe the Patriots might have kept it close. They might have been able to find a little bit more spunk on defense, but this was a totally inept performance. I'm sorry. It really was. And it started right off the bat. Rams get the ball, and they are in the red zone in about 3 or 4 plays. Just moving through the Patriots like, as George C. Scott said in Patton, like crap through a goose. And I'm sure that's not what Patton really said, but in the 1970s when that movie was made, they would not have used his actual language, probably. It's a great movie, though, huh? Anyway, Goff got him down there really quick. The Patriots put up a little bit of a fight in the red zone, but Goff eventually scored in a 1-yard run, and then you had a field goal, and then you had a 79-yard pick six, a miserably thrown pass by Cam Newton that Kenny Young just had to laugh. I'm surprised he didn't just fall down in laughter on the way to the end zone, but 79 yards, and by that time you could basically tell that the game was over. The Patriots just didn't muster anything. They got stuffed at the 2 or 3, somewhere around there, yard line at one point. And let me tell you, I was a fan earlier this season of Cam Newton's ability to run the football in short yardage situations. I really was excited by that. I thought that was something that, we all got used to Tom Brady's success at straight ahead quarterback sneaks for a yard, maybe 2 if necessary. But Newton's a guy who could do it with his legs. He could run. He could run around people. He could run through people. And yet, at some point, he decided that the only way he could accomplish these runs is to go to his left. Automatically. Take the ball, roll to the left. Hope that the blocking is there. And if it wasn't there, he'd run into people anyway. How long did it take for the rest of the NFL to figure out that that was what Cam was going to do? Well, Rams had no problem figuring it out. I mean, really, when you get down to it, the only player that came to play in that game, seriously, was punter Jake Bailey. He nailed some gorgeous punts. He and Nick Folk, the kicker, should be the co-MVPs of this season. And let's just forget about anybody else at this point. Don't even consider anybody else. It just to not even get a possibility of a touchdown in this game, just not good. And what is this, like the 3rd straight week that Newton has thrown for passing yardage that would embarrass a high school quarterback? 2 times under 100 yards. I think he had, what was it? I'll turn to my scorebook here, or the official scorebook. 119 yards, 6 for 19, 119. Was sacked 4 times, and oh God, that's just not good. Their leading receivers in this game were Bird with 48 yards on 5 catches, Myers 47 yards on 4 catches, and N'Keal Harry, a name not heard often, 3 catches, 49 yards. Whoopee! We'll talk about this receiving situation shortly, too. So, it's obvious that Newton is not throwing the ball well. And I'm not sure. A lot of people obviously suspect that he may be hurt, whether it's shoulder, whether it's arm, whether it's his ankle. He was listed all week long on the injury report with an abdominal distress of some sort. The natural question after this game, and it was asked immediately in Bill Belichick's press conference, was by Mike Reese of ESPN Boston, who was watching it on Zoom back here in New England because nobody sent anybody to these games. And the question was, do you have any plan to start Jarrett Stidham, who actually got into this game again, too? And, of course, Belichick was very sarcastic in his answer, and that didn't surprise me. He said, Mike, I'm really glad that you asked that question. And he said, Cam's our quarterback. Well, again, this morning, and this is Friday as I record this, the Patriots got back in from an overnight flight. Belichick went right to work and did his early morning press conference, and he was asked again, do you have any thoughts about possibly starting Jarrett Stidham down the stretch as a means of seeing what he can do? Because let's face it, the Patriots are now 6-7, and it does not appear that their path to the playoffs has any validity left to it. So Belichick actually got a little snippy about this one. What a surprise. And said that he would not be answering that question again in the near future. Okay, well, in the meantime, most of the New England media, and again, I've been a little critical of the younger pups that are on this beat, but I got to agree with them on this one. They're jumping on the bandwagon of starting Stidham, at least at some point over the last 3 games of the season. Now, they have to face 2 really good teams among those 3. And if they have any hope whatsoever of making the playoffs, and a lot of that will be determined by this week's games, this Sunday's games, which obviously the Patriots will not be participating in, can they really afford to start Jarrett Stidham against Miami, in Miami? Would you really want to send him up against the Buffalo Bills when the Bills, when they come to Foxborough the following week, want to make sure that they rub their AFC East championship in the face of the team that had demonized, that had tormented them for so long? And then again, if you want to start Jarrett Stidham against the New York Jets, who I suspect will still not have a win by that time in the season finale, what kind of an evaluation is that? I mean, are you really going to say, hey, look at how good Stidham played against the 0-16 New York Jets? Or they could just kind of screw everybody up and beat the Patriots in that last one. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I don't know if that's a proper seasonal evaluation for Jarrett Stidham at that point. So one thing is absolutely certain, though. Cam Newton, and I've said this before, and I don't think I'm trying not to be overly critical of him because, I've enjoyed watching him this year. I really have. But you can see that he's regressed over the course of the season, and it's clear that he is not the long-term solution for the Patriots. But the question you have to ask another question that goes along with that at this point. And that question, and I know I'll get mocked for it, is whether Bill Belichick is the right long-term solution for the Patriots. Remember, he's a couple years older than I am. He's going to be hitting 70 shortly. I know whether he dyes his hair or not. I don't know. I don't think so, to be honest. But I just have this feeling that Belichick wants to hang around long enough to either prove that he can win without Brady, and again, I'm eager to see whether or not that whole thing blows up in Tampa, which I think it has the potential of doing. Or whether he thinks he can hang around long enough to bully either Robert or more likely Jonathan Kraft into hiring one of his sons as the next head coach. If I were Josh McDaniels, I would be thinking about that right now. And if there's a opportunity that comes up in this offseason, I think this is one time when Josh McDaniels, the Patriots offensive coordinator, has got to get serious and either take it or finally just say, no, I'm going to be a career assistant, because I don't think he's ever going to get the Patriots job. I think that Belichick wants that to be a family legacy, kind of like Don Jr. and Eric Trump. Of course, first you got to keep your job to get there. But I know you're going to mock me about that, but I was struck by a graphic that appeared on the screen during the course of the Patriots-Rams game. And it was, I wish I had it here to show it to you, but the point was how badly Belichick has drafted the wide receiver position over his tenure as head coach here. And I think that if you looked at all the names up there, I think there were only 2 guys that were still active. I think there were about 8 or 9 names, and only 2 of them still active in the NFL. And one of them, Braxton Berrios, plays for the New York Jets. Their numbers are at the bottom of the NFL in terms of productivity. And you got to think about this. Here you are. You had probably the best quarterback to ever play the game for 20 years. And no wonder he was pissed off that he didn't have the best talent outside of 2007. Look, 2007, they should have won that friggin' thing. They should have. Randy Moss, Wes Welker, best receivers I saw on one team in my entire NFL covering life. And they didn't win it. So, Brady had his complaints about not having the great talent around him all this time, and he might have a gripe about that. But the bottom line, I think, is that it makes me wonder if it's time for a fresh approach. Is it time to just say, okay, look, we're heading downhill anyway. Do we really want to have one of these 2 kids running the show going forward? Or, as a marquee franchise, isn't it time to maybe look outside, get a fresh approach, maybe some better drafting out of all this? Look, Belichick is the greatest maybe. But who's not to say that the game hasn't started to pass him by a little bit? Yeah, I know. In Bill we trust. I think that trust is getting a little stretched right now. And again, I don't think this decision is going to rest in the hands of Robert Kraft, because you can't guarantee he's going to be around for a lot longer to be able to make that decision. So it's going to fall to Jonathan. What was it I was saying about kids? Hey, we had it good around here, didn't we? It's been fun. Things change. And the sooner we get used to that premise and think of creative ways to get around that little hiccup that we're having, maybe the better. And that will do it for episode 31 of The Owner's Box After Dark. Quick information. Podcasts, links, all sorts of other great information can be found on my website, www.theownersbox2020.com. And no, I'm not going to change that to 2021 when the year changes. I want to be reminded that goodness came out of this year. Send me an email at theownersbox2020@gmail.com. And, of course, snail mail. Don't forget our contest. The Owner's Box, Post Office Box 272, Mansfield, Massachusetts 02048. And if you send me a letter before Christmas telling me that you listen and watch these podcasts, you listen to them or watch them, I will send you one of these wonderful winter hats that features the Owner's Box After Dark logo. They are well made. They're terrific. They're warm. They're neutral colors. You can wear them with anything. Made by Logo Enterprises. Is that what it is? Yeah, in Wallingford, Connecticut. I probably got their name wrong again. I paid them. What do they worry about it? Anyway, feel free. Send me a letter. Get it in the mail as quickly as you can. Only one hat being given out. The first letter I see in that mailbox, they get the hat. All right. I want to thank all of you for being here to listen and watch. Please, please, please stay healthy. Stay safe. Today's count, almost 300,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus. We have to do better. So that's why I keep telling you, use your hand sanitizer. And more than ever before, wear the mask. I'll be wearing a mask when I do play-by-play for local basketball and hockey. So please do all that, because we've lost too many folks. We need something happier to get us through to the next year, which is coming soon. So, again, be good to each other. Be good to yourself. Thanks again, and good night, everybody.